In 2015, National Geographic published an article written by Paul Salopek, a man who, while journeying on a multi-year 21,000-mile walk across the world, had come to take a rest in a small Georgian village. Chargali, nestled into the Caucasus Mountains, gifted him a temporary home and an interesting story. Salopek named his journal entry Republic of Verse, and the subtitle read, "In Georgia, poets, not politicians, are national heroes." This is true. Even our money has poets' faces on it. But perhaps we are not the only ones. Across the world, colonized populations have turned to literature as a means of rebellion, and educators have turned to poetry as a channel for awakening the national consciousness. Georgians are no exception. Ravaged by conquest due to being literally in the middle of everything, Georgians have had little chance at democracy or to enter politics without persecution. Instead, whether it was due to censorship or disenfranchisement, national leaders emerged through poetry, a piece of art, the power of which lies in its dual ability to express political thought in both subtle and revolutionary ways. Because some people think eagles are just eagles, but some people know. Inspired by my own Georgian nationality, in this series of videos, I'm going to speak with you about identity formation. For this to happen, we need a test subject. Maybe not the father of Georgia, but at least the father of Georgianness, Ilia Chavchavadze. Georgia's leading public figure and poet during the 19th century, a period of nationalist thought prevailing across Europe. While the majority of European countries took to the task of unifying their own people, Ilia was charged with cultivating a nationalist sentiment under Russian occupation. Though it may have been a daunting challenge, a similar feat had been attempted across the continent, in Ireland. Having suffered under English oppression for centuries, Ireland gave birth to Thomas Davis, who in turn gave Ireland a national identity. Presently, research done on Ireland's anti-colonial nationalism abounds, with a significant portion dedicated to Davis's work. So, in order to highlight the universality of poetry and anti-colonial nationalism, we are going to compare the poems published by Ilia and Davis, and how they created a common identity among Georgians and the Irish, respectively. As a land of bards, Ireland had a relationship with its poets not unlike that of Georgia's. Folklore accounts view poetry as a gift from God, a gift which all the learning in the world could not give to a person, a gift which lack of learning could not deprive a person of. Though it may be surprising, Ilia himself was well aware of a connection between the two countries. His knowledge of the Irish issue was extensive, and he wrote of it on several occasions in his newspaper, Iveria. In 1872, he even translated an Irish poem and published it along with his own nationalist poetry. Today, Ireland continues to be an example of anti-colonial struggle, but little is known about Georgians, their perseverance against the Russian Empire, and their guide in the fight, Ilia Chavchavadze. This nation of less than 5 million has kept her language, traditions, like cool tablecloths for large gatherings and toast-making, churches, and history. But while the rest of the world remains ignorant of her struggle for coexistence, Georgia has herself started to forget about the true nature of her nationalism. This is a nationalism of the colonized. It is a nationalism of Davis and Ilia, one that strives for inclusion, one that has a history of struggle as a bigger unifier than any ethnicity, religion, or race. Therefore, I will try to show you how an inclusive brand of anti-imperial nationalism was created by poets in Georgia and in Ireland, because I hope that in the future, Georgia can also become a country we turn to for discussions on national identity formation. To those Georgian speakers who come across this video, take it as a call for action. Translate, so that our literature can be read and appreciated by the rest of the world, so that the Irish, the Indians, and the South Africans can find their own faces in Ilia's poems. Translate so that our own people are reminded of what we have in common with the Irish, that we have a nationalism birthed out of a history of struggle, and that it is not in our nature to be oppressed or to oppress others. In the following weeks, I will be back with more very realistic drawings and more discussions about the definition of nationalism, the history that inspired Ilia and Deivis, their poetry, and how it all fits together. Stay tuned.